Imagine this. You decide you want to repaint your living room to give it that fresh, modern look. And so you choose a beautiful color, you grab your brush, you get to work, and you paint right over the old peeling paint without any prep work. It looks good at first, but within days, you know what happens? That paint starts to peel, it starts to chip, and ultimately it looks worse than ever before. Why? Because we didn't address the underlying problem first. We didn't strip away the old paint. We didn't repair the cracks. We didn't create the strong foundation for the new layer to adhere. And the same is true in relationships. You might think you're doing things that strengthen the bond, but if you're not addressing the underlying patterns that are silently eroding the connection, then ultimately what we do is we're setting ourselves up for long-term failure. And so today we're going to talk about 10 subtle but destructive patterns that sabotage our relationship and what to do instead. The first highly destructive pattern is criticizing instead of asking. So when you want your partner to step up, when you want your partner to lean in, you want them to contribute more, to be more attentive, to handle something differently, perhaps. But instead of just asking directly, if the pattern is to criticize, we can say things like, why do you always leave your clothes everywhere? Or you never help me around here. That erodes the connection in the relationship. Instead, if we shift from you never help around here to, you know what, it would mean a lot to me if you would take over the dishes tonight. I would help me feel supported. It would help me feel loved. Would you be willing to do that? That is a game changer. The second pattern that erodes relationships, and I call this the silent destroyer, is defensiveness. And this is paired with criticism. So for example, if you bring up something that's bothering you, and instead of taking responsibility, your partner's getting defensive. You're always nagging me, or you blame me for everything, or you do the same thing, or it's not my fault, like you're too sensitive. Those types of things create a wall, not a bridge in the relationship. And so the antidote to this is to have a practice of active listening. And so when we feel ourselves get defensive, we can train ourselves, instead of counter-criticizing or instead of defending our position, we can start with, tell me more. Or, I hear you. I'm noticing that you're feeling a rattle about this. You're feeling under-supported. You're feeling unappreciated. Like, let's talk about what it would look like to fix this. I told my wife a couple months ago that I was going to be done with work at 5:30. I come down at like 6:15, so I'm late. She's feeling frustrated because of the way that her particular day went. I come down. The kids are normally like showered. They've eaten. And it's time for connection time, like playtime. We can have fun. They haven't showered. She's in the middle of cooking dinner. And so I come down and she's like, you're late. And she starts kind of talking about the agreement that I broke with her. And I'm feeling criticized in that moment. And so I can feel my defensiveness kick in. And I can feel the urge to say, well, I'm late, but you're late too. Like, look, you don't have the kids showered. They're not ready and this and this and that. I've been working on this so much so I could find the place in me to say, I hear you. I apologize. I owned my side, saying, I know I said I was going to be down earlier. And what is it that would support you? And while there was a whole part of me that was critical about the kids not being showered and dinner not being done and all of that, I said, tell me what's been going on in your day. And she told me about all these unexpected things that had happened and how there was drama with the kids and how they weren't doing this and that. And immediately the irritation that I felt, the criticism that I felt, was melted away with compassion. Like, oh man, like if I had gone through that, I totally get it. And so then we were able to get way more into sync. I'm so grateful for the awareness of, when I start to feel defensive, the first move to make to melt the tension of the situation is to acknowledge the feeling of the other person, then ask for them to understand what's been going on for me. And then from that place, we can build a bridge. Now, the third toxic pattern is name calling. And this is where we don't melt the situation with understanding and compassion. We ramp it up with more criticism and more defensiveness and saying things like, you're such a jerk. You're so lazy. Like, how could you not get this done? Like, you're being ridiculous. It's like pouring fuel on the fire of the disconnection. And these words stick. They erode somebody's self-esteem. They erode the connection. They erode the trust in the relationship. If there's a pattern of name calling, like you're being so selfish, you're such a jerk, like that kind of thing. You're such an idiot. Don't be so stupid. Those types of words, catch yourself. completely shift that pattern and instead focus on behavior and saying, hey, you forgetting to pick up the thing that I asked you to pick up, I feel so frustrated about that. So it's you name the behavior and then name how you feel about it. And then you can create a new agreement from that point forward. But that shift is a magic shift. And it takes the relationship from eroding the connection to actually building the foundation upon which love can grow. The fourth pattern is bottling up our emotions. So instead of like lashing out, criticizing, name calling, so you might be the person there, you try to just stay quiet to keep the peace. Or you tell yourself, it's not really that big of a deal. But what happens when you keep a lid on a boiling pot, right? Eventually it explodes. The pressure has to go somewhere. And so way better is to actually have what I call a sweaty 10-minute conversation where you go direct with somebody and you tell them how you feel. Not everybody was taught that even if there's nothing the other person can do other than hear how you feel, that in and of itself has value. I was in a work environment. My brother was downstairs. I was leading this particular presentation and a football game was downstairs. It was his favorite team and they're in the playoffs. And I told them, hey, be quiet because we're doing this big work event and I'm leading this class upstairs. His team scored. And I hear this, like they just bust into cheering and loud. And like it totally disrupted the flow of the class in that moment. And I'm trying to stay present and teach the class. And so I was feeling so frustrated because I just asked them to be quiet. I went downstairs and there were 3 individuals downstairs. And I talked to the 2 individuals downstairs. They were like, I didn't make the noise. It was your brother. He wasn't around. So I went back upstairs and then later I came downstairs and I said, hey, do you know where Rich is? And the other person that was part of that experience said, you don't need to bring it up to Rich. You're just stirring the pot. Yeah, did anyone ever tell you that? You're just stirring the pot. Now, what this individual had been taught was it's not okay to share the rattle of how you feel. Just sweep it under the rug. Let it go. But here's the thing, if you're feeling a major rattle about something, you don't just let it go in terms of if you feel it, feelings are like worms. If they're suppressed, they will express in some way. And often what they'll do is they'll express later as mutated forms of life. Either you'll get super irritated or explode on them about something else. Does that ever happen? Right? You blow something else way out of proportion. Or it creates a physical illness. Like we will get sick. Or we'll have some other physical challenge, right? I mentioned to this individual, I said, look, I understand you think I'm stirring the pot. I believe in the principle of going direct and shovel while the pile is small and clearing the air because my connection to my brother matters. So I was like half an hour later, my brother comes up and I'm like, hey man, can I talk to you about the game? In the middle of the class, you're watching the game and I hear this huge, loud cheer. And I felt really frustrated and irritated because I'm trying to teach the class and I'm distracted with what's going on in the game. And the beautiful part was my brother didn't get defensive. He didn't counter criticize. In that moment, he was like, dude, I get it. I'm so sorry. I had such a hard time holding it in because there was this interception. Now I'm a football fan, so I get it too. He's like, interception, return for a touchdown. I couldn't believe it. And I just let my emotions get the best of me and I apologize. And I said, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Gave him a hug. And here's what's amazing. That one conversation completely disintegrated the frustration, the irritation. Had I not been willing to talk to him, that would have festered. So it's not stirring the pot to share your emotions. It's actually clearing the air. The 5th dysfunctional practice that erodes relationships is keeping score. It's called the resentment scoreboard, where the person falls short. Like you cooked dinner 3 times this week, they haven't done it once. You initiated intimacy twice. They haven't even noticed. They haven't come back at you initiating. Your keeping score creates resentments and it turns the relationship into a competition. So this is why actually bringing things up is so powerful. It eliminates the need to keep score. Because when you're bringing it up, you're actually erasing the scoreboard saying, okay, let's create a new agreement. And so here's the cool thing. The antidote to keeping score is actually bringing things up. Where if you start to feel like things are out of balance, you start to feel that rattle, as then you bring it up and you say, hey, I noticed that last night I was really wanting you to initiate intimacy. And instead of just wanting that and not voicing it, I wanted to bring it up. And I would love it if you would initiate more intimacy. Would you be willing to do that? and create a new agreement together. All great relationships are based on making and keeping clear agreements. Sixth practice is stacking. And this is where we bring up the past, right? You're having a disagreement, let's say about something simple like the dishes. And suddenly you're bringing up all the things 6 months ago that they never help out about. Like you never help out. Remember, you forgot my birthday 6 months ago. You don't remember these agreements. You forgot this. You forgot that. You forgot this. Stacking old grievances into the current issue only makes the conflict bigger than it needs to be. And know this, nobody can resolve the past. We can only resolve what's in this present moment. In fact, in our family, we have this agreement, no stacking. And so let's say I slip up and I tease my daughter a little bit about I scare her or something. And she'll say, Dad, we have an agreement. No teasing. This is the third time this year you teased me. Remember last month you teased me? And no stacking. We don't need all those other examples to validate that you don't want me to tease you. I hear you. New agreement. I won't tease you. If we remember that the reason people stack is because ultimately they want their feelings to be validated. They want us to understand how deeply they feel this particular moment. We don't need to do that if we're validating the emotions and honoring the broken agreement. Here's the agreement. Focus on the current issue at hand. If old hurts are still unresolved, then we separate them and we discuss them at a separate time. So you can say, right now, I'm going to focus on this particular situation. You can talk about how you felt that I forgot your birthday at a different time, but let's focus on one at a time. And that's how you actually work through these unresolved issues. Now, number 7 is avoiding conflict. And the reason I put this in here, even though it's very similar to not sharing your emotions, is because there's another aspect of this. And it might not be that you feel angry with the person or irritated, but there's some need that you want met, or there's something that you want, like maybe you want a particular picture on the wall, or maybe you want to rearrange your bedroom and you're feeling like, oh, my partner doesn't want that. But being willing to lean in and have the conversation brings you two closer together so that he can know you or she can know you in a deeper way. If something's on your heart, if you feel a rattle about something for more than 24 hours, like you go to sleep, you wake up and it's still on your mind, that's when you want to share it with your partner, because conflict is actually a doorway to closeness, because it helps the two of you understand how you feel and who you are in an even deeper way. Number 8, and this one is really common, especially if you've been together for a while, and it's taking each other for granted, or what we call the silent drift, right? As you stop saying thank you for the little things. You assume that you know that you two love each other, so you stop saying I love you. You stop doing date nights. You stop having playtime. You start laughing together. And over time, what happens is you two become like life business partners instead of a passionate partnership, instead of a beautiful connection. Right? You stop talking, you stop sharing, you stop appreciating, and that silence creates distance. So instead, one of the fastest ways to get back into a place of closeness is to reignite appreciation. And so every day, you find one small thing to thank your partner for, to appreciate them. And before you go to bed, a great time to do this is before you go to bed or in the morning. You say, hey, you know what? I really appreciate the way that you showed up today. I really appreciated how you helped me with this particular thing, or the fact that you remembered where that was. I just love the way your mind works. Or I just want you to know you look so good today. When you're heading out, I was just feeling so lucky to have you as a partner. Those types of appreciations make a huge difference. Number 9, comparing your relationship to other people. We call this the highlight reel trap. As you're scrolling through Instagram, or you see other couples on vacation, or the photos of your friends that they post in your WhatsApp groups that are like, look at the fun vacation we had. Look at the flowers my husband sent me, or look at these grand gestures. And suddenly you feel like your relationship is lacking. We cannot compare the other people's outsides to our insides, because comparison is the thief of joy, and knowing that it never gives us the full picture. If we're noticing a longing and discontent in our relationship, know this: longing and discontent are actually signals from your higher power. They're signals from spirit and signals that it's time to grow. And so it's okay to get clear if there's a longing, like, oh, I would love more of this in my relationship, or discontent, like, oh, I'd love less of that, like that doesn't feel good. it's an opportunity to come together and talk about it and reinvent your connection. Say, God, I'd love to go on more weekend adventures with you. Like, I'd love to do more visioning with you. Or I'd love to have more passionate lovemaking with you. I'd love to like change things up. It's been kind of like the same routine. Like, let's get, bring some newness to our relationship. That longing and discontent are signals that it's opportunity to grow. But do not compare your relationship with others as evidence that, ooh, there's something off or wrong about your relationship, because you get to create your relationship any way you want it, and you can create it into something that is absolutely fulfilling. And number 10 is believing that the relationship should always be easy. This is the perfection myth, right? You hit a rough patch and suddenly you're questioning the entire relationship. Like, if we were really meant to be, it wouldn't be this hard. In the beginning of a relationship, if you're just starting dating somebody, it should be easy. It should feel smooth and peaceful. That's a signal that the two of you are aligned. But once you're committed, there's gonna be bumps in the roads. Lasting love isn't effortless. It's not with its struggle or friction. Great relationships are built through great communication, through the willingness to lean in, the willingness to open up, the willingness to grow through that friction. So embrace the mess. Instead of thinking, oh, this shouldn't be happening, saying, okay, we're having a rough time. How can we grow through this together? How can we increase our communication with one another? So here's what's really important to recognize. If you've noticed yourself doing several of these patterns, know this: it doesn't mean that your relationship is irreparable or that it's doomed or it doesn't have a solid foundation. It's something to notice and say, okay, how can I shift that to make it even stronger, to make the foundation even more solid so that we can build the love that we really do want in this relationship? So my question for you is this: which positive patterns do you notice build the strength of the relationship the fastest? Go ahead and post that in the comment section below. I believe in you. I support you. Here's to the amazing relationship that you are creating in your life. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.